soft, steady tone, calming like a quiet breeze through palm leaves. Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, we'll drift back to a world of sun-baked stone, slow-flowing rivers, and the ever-present whisper of desert wind. A place where time moved with the rise and fall of the Nile, where gods watched from painted temple walls, and life was measured in handfuls of grain. This is ancient Egypt but not the dramatic movie version of Egypt. No grand battles, no flashy pyramids rising in seconds. This is the Egypt of dust and sandals, of long, hot afternoons in the fields, of quiet prayers to household gods, and the rhythmic clatter of looms in shaded courtyards. You are here not to be thrilled, but to drift. Let your mind rest in the warm glow of oil lamps. Let the gentle rhythm of history soothe you, and if sleep comes for you, as it surely will, let it take you softly, with the past still whispering in your ears. We begin, as most Egyptians did, not in palaces, but in the dust. Let's imagine life as a peasant beneath the gaze of the sun god Ra. Imagine yourself waking before dawn, the air still cool but dry, your straw mat scratchy beneath your back. By the mud brick walls of your home are cracked with heat, but they hold in the morning chill just a little longer. You rise slowly, stretching joints sore from labor, as the rest of your family begins to stir. You live in a small two-room house, one room for sleeping, one for living and storage. The roof is flat, and in the hottest months, you sleep on it. There is no privacy, no doors to close. Life is shared, bright, and it is simple. Breakfast is bread every day, coarse barley loaf, baked hard, often mixed with sand that grinds down your teeth. Over the years, if you're lucky, there is beer, thick, sour, and cloudy, drunk through a straw to avoid the floating chaff. Water, only if it's clean, which is rare. You are a fella, a peasant. Your life is tied to the Nile, as tightly as the rushes on your sandals. You work the land that belongs to the temple or the pharaoh. The soil is rich when the river floods dry. But the flood doesn't ask what you need. Some years it comes to high, others not at all. And when it fails, so do you. Your tools are simple. A wooden plow pulled by oxen, a sickle with a blade of flint. Your hands, your sweat. Work begins early, always. You sow, reap, thresh. You wade into irrigation channels, scooping water with a shadoof, that long wooden lever over and over, muscles burning. The sun climbs high, the heat grows, the insects bite. You keep going. Buy your clothes, our linen, if you can afford it. Often just a loin cloth. Children run naked until they're older. You wear a simple necklace with a charm, a scarab, perhaps, or an eye of Horus, for protection. Life is precarious. You need all the protection you can get. When the harvest comes, it is taxed, not in coins, but ingrained. A scribe arrives, educated, well-fed, to count what you owe. He records it with a reed pen on a clay tablet or a papyrus scroll. There's no arguing. The state always gets its share, often more. You may be conscripted for labor, building canals, clearing silt. Perhaps, if you are unfortunate, you are sent to build tombs. Not the grand pyramids. Those are old now, but royal tombs hidden in the desert cliffs. You chip away at stone in darkness, breathing in dust, lit only by flickering oil. Illness comes often. Malaria, infections, parasites from the river. There are no doctors for your kind, only folk, remedies, prayers, and hope. Life expectancy is short. Many children die young. Adults rarely see old age. Still, there is rhythm. Grind in rhythm. Pass. Festival days bring color, music, dance, offerings at the local shrine, weddings and funerals bring the community together. Pray. You tell stories by firelight, pass down myths. We carve tiny gods into your walls. You hope for a better life, perhaps in the next world. And always you look to the river to rise again, to flood, to bring life back to your cracked field. Now let us shift our gaze from the daily struggles of the average Egyptian to a singular figure who stood against tradition, reshaped the gods, and paid dearly for it. Lie back, close your eyes, and imagine yourself walking through an alien Egypt, one without Amen, without Ra's great temples, without the comforting familiarity of ancestral worship. In its place, a blinding sun disk, golden and strange. This was the world of Akhenaten, often called Egypt's heretic pharaoh, born as Amenhotep the Fourth, son of the mighty Amenhotep the Third. He came into power during Egypt's Golden Age, a time of enormous wealth, thriving temples, and stable border. He should have ruled like his forefathers, honoring the gods, expanding the temples, and pleasing the powerful priests of Amen, the dominant deity of the time. But something. History never tells us exactly what was different about him. Almost as soon as he ascended the throne, Amenhotep the Fourth began to change Egypt's religion. He rejected the traditional pantheon of gods with their complex rituals and priestly in their place. He offered a single god, a distant, formless one, Aten, the sun disk. Unlike other deities, Aten had no body, no mythology, just rays. It was not a god to be represented, but one to be felt. And in this, Akhenaten believed he alone could commune with Aten. Akhenaten's changes were not merely symbolic. He physically moved Egypt's capital away from the old cities of Thebes and Memphis and into the desert. There, in a place untouched by other gods, he built a brand new city. He raised temples of open air, for Aten's light was never to be shaded, and filled the city with art unlike anything Egypt had seen before. Traditional Egyptian statues were stiff and idealized, gods and pharaohs frozen in eternal perfection. But Akhenaten's art was soft, curved, almost intimate. He was shown with a long face, heavy lips, thin limbs, and a rounded belly. Bru, his wife, Nefertiti, appeared beside him as an equal. Their children were depicted affectionately, kissing, climbing, laughing. There was love in these images, vulnerability, and some historians believe Akhenaten truly believed he was a god on earth, not just a representative of Eight. Bert, Oten's earthly vessel. But not everyone shared his vision. By suppressing the old gods and stripping power from their temple, Akhenaten made many enemies, especially among the elite priesthood of Emma. Outside of Akhenaten, discontent grew. Egypt's international prestige began to weaken. Vassal states wrote pleading letters, begging for military support that never came. The economy grew uncertain. Old festivals were abandoned. Poor. For ordinary Egyptians, it must have been confusing, even frightening. And then, after 17 years of rule, Akhenaten died. Just like that, the sun dimmed. What followed was swift and silent. Within a few years, Akhenaten's city was abandoned. The capital returned. The temples to Orm were reopened. Sculptures were smashed, names chiseled out, and statues of Orton torn down. Even Akhenaten's own tomb was left unfinished. His burial remains uncertain. It was an almost total erasure, not just of a man, but of a radical experiment in faith. And most hauntingly, one of his successors was a child, likely his own son, a boy named Tutankhaten, who would change his name to Tutankhamun, signaling a return to the old god. 4 centuries, Akhenaten remained forgotten, a footnote lost in stone. Boom. It wasn't until the 19th century that archaeologists rediscovered the ruins of Amarna, revealing this short, strange chapter of rebellion in a land otherwise obsessed with continuity. Modern scholars still debate him. Was he a visionary, a fanatic, a lonely idealist caught between the sky and the earth? Some even suggest that Akhenaten's emphasis on one god, invisible, all-powerful, abstract, may have echoed into later monotheistic faiths. Though there's no proof, the resemblance remains, softly shimmering in history's distance. But one thing is clear. Akhenaten broke from tradition in a world where tradition was sacred, and for that, history tried to silence him. But history never forgets. Forever, let us drift now from the sunlit courtyards and labor-swept fields of ancient Egypt to something far more elusive. A quieter realm, one filled not with the hum of daily toil, but with whispers of gods, symbols, and an enduring hope for life after death. You are lying still again. The desert breeze, now gone. Plen in its place. A hush. Imagine yourself in a dim, incense-filled chamber, lit only by flickering oil lamps. The walls around you are alive with painted stories, not of kings or wars, but of the journey the soul must take after the body has faded. This is the world of the Book of the Dead. But despite its modern name, the Egyptians didn't see it as a book, nor did they call it dead. Instead, it was a collection, a flowing, flexible scroll of spells and instruction, sometimes called the Book of Coming Forth. By day, it was a manual not for mourning, but for rebirth. And here's where we pause and look gently into the beliefs of a civilization for whom death was not an end, but a sacred continuation. B, in ancient Egyptian belief. The afterlife was not automatic. It was something to be earned. And so they prepared. The soul, they believed, would journey through a shadowy realm known as the Duat, a vast landscape of rivers, fiery lakes, and guardians of terrifying aspect. But not all were enemies. Some spirits helped. Some tested. Others merely observed. Among the many figures in this realm was Anubis, the jackal-headed god of mummification, who gently guided the dead through their transition, not with malice, but with sacred duty. And Thoth, the ibis-headed scribe of the gods, who recorded the soul as deeds, just as scribes in the mortal world had done by the Nile. At the heart of this journey was a singular moment of balance, the weighing of the heart. Imagine it now. A golden scale suspended in a celestial hall. On one side, the deceased's heart, thought to hold their conscience, their truth, and on the other, a feather, the feather of Mat, symbol of justice, order, and cosmic balance. If the heart was heavy with wrongdoing, it would outweigh the feather, and then the soul would be devoured by Ammit, the monstrous goddess who was part crocodile, part lion, part hippopotamus, the devourer of the unworthy. But if the scales were balanced, or if the heart was lighter, then the soul would pass onward into a paradise known as the Field of Reed. This paradise was not a golden heaven or an abstract eternity. It was instead a mirror of the best parts of life by the Nile. The soul would farm again, but with ease. The days would be warm and predictable. There would be no hunger, no toil, no pain. A blessed echo of the life they once knew, where family and familiar landscapes continued. There was no desire to escape the mortal world, only to preserve its rhythm and peace forever. And so, funeral practices became spiritual technology. Tombs were not just graves, they were doorways, lined with protective prayers and paintings that reminded the soul of the path ahead. Amulets were not ornaments, they were defenses, like shields in a cosmic journey. The dead could not navigate the Duat alone. Priests trained in these sacred spells would prepare scrolls to be buried with the deceased. These spells included passwords, rituals, and knowledge of hidden gates. But this wasn't magic in the sense of sorcery. It was a kind of divine literacy. Knowing the right name of a spirit could protect you. Remembering a specific phrase might open a path. Knowledge in Egypt was salvation. Even in the home of an ordinary family, one might find household gods and charms, invoking Hatha's joy or Bessa's protection during childbirth. And this belief in spiritual order extended to everything. The alignment of temples with the stars, the colors of clothing, the rituals of daily worship, all of it sought harmony with Mat. The principle of balance, truth, and eternal order. Without Mat, there was chaos. With Mat, there was peace. To walk through Egypt was to walk through a sacred landscape. The river, the desert, the sun itself, all had names, all had meanings, all were connected. Pi. And the culture thrived not in spite of this mysticism, but because of it. The scribes who copied spells by torchlight, the artisans who painted tomb walls, each line a prayer. The women who sang laments during funerals, believing their voices could ease a soul's passing. The Egyptians saw life and death not as opposites, but as partners, a rhythm, an eternal cycle. Bah! And when night came and the world went dark, they trusted the sun would rise again, just as their souls hoped to do. We'll gently turn now from temples and tombs and tour the palaces. In the final part of our journey, we'll enter the lives of the Egyptian elite, the nobles and royals who lived at the very top of this carefully structured world. Their lives were filled with ceremony, wealth, but also complex restrictions. We'll explore the perfumes, the politics, the palace intrigues, and the burden of appearing divine. Let us proceed calmly into the world of Egypt's chosen few. As the desert night deepens, let us leave behind tombs, temples, and sunken. Let us now slip into something soft, more intimate. Not the afterlife, not war, not prophecy, but the lives of those who ruled above it all. You are no longer a laborer hauling stones. You are not even a scribe. You are now nobility. A courtier in Thebes, a daughter of a general, a wife to a priest, or perhaps even a queen. In waiting, breathe slowly, smell the incense burning in alabaster bowls. Feel the weight of gold bracelets stacked at your wrist, and listen to the quiet hush of servants brushing the courtyard tiles clean with palm brooms. This is the world of Egypt's elite. For those at the top, life was a performance, a theater of grace, beauty, and divinity. To look powerful was to be powerful. The rich bathed daily, not in Nile water, but in scented oils infused with lotus, myrrh, frankincense, and cinnamon. Fish skin glowed under the desert sun, protected with unguents and creams made from animal fat, honey, and crushed minerals. Wigs of braided human hair, sometimes adorned with beads of lapis lazuli or gold wire. Framed, painted faces. Eyeliner wasn't just fashion, it warded off infection and honored the gods. Black coal traced almond-shaped eyes, while crushed malachite made the lids shimmer green like the riverbanks in spring. Even breath was perfumed. Elite women chewed on frankincense resin. Men wore scent cones. On their wigs lit perfumes that melted in the sun, releasing aroma as the day warmed. To be seen, smelling sweet, standing tall, radiant, under Otten's eye that was divine. Meals were not merely sustenance. Poor. They were orchestrated. Imagine reclining beneath a canopy of palms, while slaves bring platters of roast duck, honeyed bread, and dates soaked in wine. The wine, itself dark and heavy, was reserved for the elite, stored in jars with vintages labeled and blessed by priests. Musicians played stringed harps, and dancers barefoot, adorned in beads, moved in slow, hypnotic rhythm. Flowers were everywhere. Lotus blossoms floated in wine bowls. Women wore them, tucked behind ears or woven into collars. To live as a noble was to imitate the gods, graceful, sensual, eternal. And yet, even these divine meals were haunted by silence. The elite knew no feast lasted forever. No beauty remained untouched by time. Though their daily lives were indulgent, the wealthy were obsessed not just with living well, but dying correctly. Each member of the elite spent a lifetime preparing for their tomb. Custom-made canopic jars held their organ. Their burial masks were carved not to resemble their true faces, but their ideal, timeless selves. B. Commissioned elaborate coffin texts, sometimes full versions of the Book of the Dead, personalized with their names and specific instructions for navigating the underworld. Some even hired professional mourners, women who wailed dramatically at funerals to ensure the proper emotional transition between worlds. They buried themselves with model servant shabdis, carved figures meant to rise in the afterlife and complete any labor demanded of them. Even in death, they would not work. The illusion of divinity followed them into eternity. But beneath this glamour and incense, there was fear. A fear of losing favor, of disease, of curses, of a failed afterlife, judgment. Behind the smiles, the elite often lived isolated, surrounded by politics, palace, whispers, and rivals. A single misstep could mean disgrace, or even death. And though their tombs shimmered with gold, time was not kind. Grave robbers, floods, earthquakes, even their own descendants cannibalized old tombs for newer kings. The illusion of godhood was just that, illusion. Beneath the gold leaf, they, too, were mortal. So now, as you drift into sleep, remember, the poor toiled in mud. But the heretics were buried without names, and the elite bathed in perfume, writing their names in gold. But all of them, Labora, king, priest, and princess, shared one thing. The desert wind would one day bury them all. Yet through crumbled tombs, faded ink, and broken stone, their voices whisper still. And as you listen, They become quiet companions in the long hush of night.